everybody out there. I'd like to recognize my women in the trade that came here today to support all the women here today. Stand up and say, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come here today. We appreciate it. My name is Bob Butler, and I'm president of the Sheet Metal Workers Local 17, founded in 1896, today representing more than 2,700 skilled and licensed workers throughout Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island. It's my honor to welcome you all here today, leaders in government, leaders in labor, and leaders in business, including our contractors and our partners. We are proud to be part of the Northeast Regional Council of International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers, one of North America's most dynamic and diverse unions with over 230,000 members across this country. We stand together as mostly highly trained professionals in the industry, bringing the top safety standards, quality to any project. We fight for quality of life for our members and provide the highest level of construction excellence available anywhere. We also serve as a reliable partner to responsible contractors, communities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Last month here at Local 17 Apprenticeship Program, we hosted a meeting of Mass Hire State Workforce Board, a group of cross-sector workforce leaders convened by Secretary of Labor and Workforce Development, Lauren Jones. So thank you, Lauren. An important priority that we share with all leaders here today, expanding access to great union careers for women, historically unrepresented minorities. Right? That's what we do every day in, day out, all the unions, part of the building trades. We seek out and welcome, support diverse apprentices to learn the trade and join our union. We are proud to be a partner of the groundbreaking Building Pathways. You guys all know that. Yes, thank you. You'll hear from one of them today. We go out and we search at Building Pathways, unrepresented workers for union apprenticeship programs, day in and day out. We are honored today to welcome to our training center leaders from across government and labor movement who champion this work, including Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo. Thank you, Gina. You know, I go back when Gina was treasurer. I was a business agent down in Rhode Island, and she was known as the building trades governor in Rhode Island, right? Well, absolutely, Stevie. And we have our building trades governor standing right to the right of me, so we want to thank her as well. And the Mass AFL-CIO president, Chrissy Lynch, behind me, and the state leaders who are here today. It's my honor now to introduce one of the best governors around. In 8 years as Attorney General, Maura Healey made workers' rights a priority of the office, teaming up with labor to crack down on abusive employees and prosecute wage theft. Every day, that's what she did in that office, and we appreciate it, believe you me. In 2022, she became the first woman elected to the governor of Massachusetts, immediately established herself as one of the nation's most effective champions for working families, day in and day out. In less than 2 years in office, she has put the most generous child tax credit and child care subsidies in the country. In the country, think about that, guys, all right? Free meals for every child in public school, free meals. Think about that to struggling workers in the field, working class people. Think about that. A historic housing bond bill to bring down cost, and most recently, an economic development bill that enshrines supports for PLA's agreements in the state of Massachusetts. Think about that. And also, she is also the first governor in more than 50 years, think about that one, in 50 years to establish a labor advisory council made up of union leaders. Think about that one. That's unbelievable. In which she announced that at the Mass Building Trades, I believe down the Cape or somewhere where we were at, but thank you for that this past March. So I'm pleased to welcome my friend, the proud daughter of a union member and the 73rd governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Maura Healey. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. And thank you for your service, too. We were together this morning with the LG celebrating no slowdowns on the T, and Bobby's on the advisory board. Appreciate your work there. And thank you for hosting us today. Have you ever seen a podium like this? Pretty good. I want to take it. It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you for hosting us and the secretary here today at this fabulous Local 17 Training Center. Bob, I got to say, you've been a great friend, a great partner, a great advocate for your members. You've been truly so wonderful for our administration to work with. And, you know, I say that looking out at so many incredible labor leaders and labor members here in this room today. And from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of the Lieutenant Governor, I just want to say thank you to all of us, because all of that got done this year, the last couple of years. All that got done because we played as a team, we worked as a team, we advocated, we talked to the right people, we kept talking to them, we brought everybody together, and as a result, we made really, really good policy that's going to help families, working families, all around this great state. It's a thrill, especially to welcome back to New England our United States Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo. You know, this is not Secretary Raimondo's first trip this year even to Massachusetts. Earlier, she was with us at Local 103, where we were talking about and celebrating union apprenticeships. And she has been a champion for labor and working people well before her time as governor of Rhode Island, as treasurer, and certainly as Secretary of Commerce. You know, just in her 4 years alone, she's overseen the creation of 16 million jobs. 20 million new business applications in just 4 years, sparking the return of great, not just good, great blue-collar jobs in manufacturing and construction. She's also been a leader who has prioritized fairness and equity. That's what that roundtable was about back at 103. The Secretary was making childcare a priority in the trades, and that's about equity in our economy. And I really appreciate her focus, in particular, on the construction industry. She's making sure that hundreds of billions of dollars that are going towards infrastructure, microchip production, and clean energy are helping everyone, not just some, but everybody, have access to these great jobs. This is important work, and it's and I just want to again, let's give her. She's a Patriots fan too. Just forget that, all right? Even though this is a tough time right now, we're thrilled to have her back. The Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll, you may know this, is part of a building trades family through her husband Nick, a bricklayer. We have our Secretary of Labor and Workforce Development, who has just been doing a fantastic job since she hit the ground and has been running every day, working to connect opportunity to people in our state, and that's Lauren Jones. Our Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Rebecca Tepper, who's focused on putting those great Inflation Reduction Act dollars to work and creating great jobs. Commissioner Adam Bakke is here. He is the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance, DCAM, leading so many of the state construction projects, and his partnership was incredibly instrumental in getting us to the executive order that I'm going to have the privilege of signing in just a few. Joining us also is Assistant Secretary of Administration and Finance, Mark Fine, who helps with how we finance our big projects and investments. And our Director of Federal Funds and Infrastructure, Quentin Palfrey. In just the last 2 years alone, we've brought home more than $9 billion in federal funding to Massachusetts, thanks to the historic investments by the Biden administration and thanks to our all-hands-on-deck strategy in chasing after all those dollars. And we partner with labor to turn those funds into great jobs and careers. Roger Brunell in our office, my labor advisor, making sure our relationships are strong. And I want to thank all the leaders from labor and the building trades who are here today. Massachusetts AFL-CIO President Chrissy Lynch, Mass Building Trades President Frank Callahan, Greater Boston Building Trades President Brian Doherty, Executive Director of the Greater Boston Labor Council, Darlene Lombos, Executive Director Nancy Luck from Building Pathways, which you heard about earlier. Lou Antonellis from Local 103 is here. I see others represented in the room. Listen, thank you so much. Also, our Undersecretary and our Labor and Workforce Secretary, Josh Cutler, thank you. Leading work on apprenticeships. And all the members of our Labor Advisory Council. But most of all, I want to thank the sisters who are here today. You all stood earlier. Yes. Thank you for coming. I haven't finished my shopping. Maybe you haven't either. I finally haven't started. So I know this is crunch time, and all the more grateful I am that you took the time to be here today for this event. You know, I think this might be the LGA, our last event of the year, official. And I can't think of a better, oh, Representative Brandy Fluker Oakley is here. Thank you so much. Look, I can't think of a better way to wrap what has been a great year than to sign this executive order here today, which is all about opportunity. It's about economic growth. It's about, you know, giving people a fair shot and making sure that everybody has access to that, including women who disproportionately haven't, you know, had as many seats in the construction and building trades industry. And you all every day, workers as well as contractors, you know, I see you guys out there. I thank you so much for everything that you do. Tom O'Brien, John Fish, thank you. Thank you for providing the employment. And it's the collection of people here. That's why we're a leader when it comes to diversifying the trades. We have a grassroots movement of women who are committed to lifting one another up as they rise. And I think some of us here know what it's like to work in fields that are traditionally male. And it's very nice to have sisters around you, right, to help and support. And it's wonderful to have the support of our male colleagues and allies who recognize the importance of this as well, you know, big time. So we shouldn't have to fight. No one should have to fight to get into an industry, because every industry needs people right now. Every industry benefits from people. We have a lot more work to do in our economy. I want you to know we're investing in workers, and we also know that equity adds value. It not only brings fairness to the economy, it brings more talent to the table. And we just had the pleasure of visiting the trainees in the room over there, and it's pretty impressive to see what they're learning and what they're doing. I'll talk a minute about PLAs, because that's something that we made intentional in our economic development bill, transformational economic development bill that we just signed a week ago. Yeah. In November, I was out at Holyoke. We had the topping off ceremony for the Soldiers' Home out there. It's a world-class facility, right? And that happened because we had a PLA in place, because it helped ensure that that job was delivered not only on time, but, you know, ahead of time with that PLA. And it's an example of what you see in this workforce, which is so skilled, which is fairly paid, and which is representative of our great state. And not only is it meeting, but it's surpassing its goals for contracting and hiring women and people of color and veterans. And so that's really awesome, and the kinds of things we're going to do more of. So here's what we're going to be doing, okay? I'm going to sign an executive order, which is always fun. Sign the executive order, last one of the year probably. It's an order that directs our state agencies that whenever they're going to award a construction contract, that they're going to do it in a way that we know creates better access to jobs for women and minorities. This means using apprenticeship programs like the one here at Local 17, which support women and people of color. It means using strong safety and anti-harassment training programs, so we have a workplace culture that makes people want to actually stick around. And it means providing supportive services such as childcare, which we know is so important for every parent, but especially moms in this industry. It also is going to direct agencies to collect and report data on workforce demographics and what our contractors are doing. And it establishes a committee to actually coordinate all the work between and among state agencies on these issues. So we're signing this today because we're serious about it, and that's why we're putting it in an executive order. We're going to keep track of things. We're also going to help, because starting in February, DCAM is establishing the first ever Access and Opportunity Committee on new projects. So any project that is going to be, that's over $35 million is going to be monitored and is going to be going through that committee. And all projects over $10 million will be invited into this program as well. These things are going to keep Massachusetts a leader in workforce equity, and we're going to get even more great skilled workers into the trades. And it will also ensure that our public projects continue to be done well and done on time. It is now my pleasure to announce a member of this great union, Local 17, and a leader in this movement, Shamea Turner, who joined the union construction industry back in 2012. She started as a Local 17 sheet metal worker after graduating from Building Pathways, and now she's a leader in this field. She's the secretary for the SMART International Union Women's Committee, a trustee on the SMART Recruitment and Retention Council, and the business development representative for the Northeast Regional Council of SMART. Shamea, the podium is yours.
What a great Christmas present, you all. This is amazing. What a good day. So thank you, Governor Healey. You nailed it on the biography, so I won't have to repeat certain things. But I want to shout out again the tradeswomen in the room, especially Local 17 Women's Committee. This contingent right over here. And so I just stepped up as the chair of the International Smart Women's Committee, so it's really my pleasure to be here. And I'm also a co-convener of the policy group on tradeswomen's issues. So in 2008, at the height of the recession, I was barely living paycheck to paycheck, working in the food service industry. I knew I wanted to work in construction and that I wanted to work with my hands, but I had no idea how to enter the field. At the time, the only people in the trades that I knew were men, and usually their advice was to apply for an office job. Little did I know that around the same time, the Policy Group on Tradeswomen's Issues, or PGTI, was just being established with the express purpose of tackling the barriers and biases that keep women and other underrepresented groups from good union jobs and life-sustaining careers. It is because of the wisdom and solidarity of people like Susan Moyer, Liz Skidmore, Mary Vogel, Brian Doherty, and Marty Walsh that I was able to finally fulfill my dream by graduating from the Building Pathways Pre-Apprenticeship Program and becoming a first-year sheet metal apprentice in 2012. Also in 2012, in the Sheet Metal Workers Union, there were about 5 women. And I want to give thanks to those trailblazers, such as Joyce Hayward, who is now retired with more than 40 years under her belt as a Local 17 member. She was never, yeah, absolutely. She was never shy about making her voice heard, even though she was one of only, oftentimes. And because of the collective work of trailblazers like her and the force of PGTI, I am proud to say that we have around 80 women represented by the Northeast Regional Council of Sheet Metal Workers today, and locally about 60 women, which is a far cry from 5. The crux of PGTI's mission is its integrated supply and demand strategy. One side focuses on introducing women and girls to the construction trades and giving them space to imagine these careers as an option for themselves. But those efforts would be in vain without the cooperation of contractors, project owners, and the government supplying equitable work. That is why I'm so thrilled to be speaking today. As a beneficiary of the best practices that PGTI has set forward, and now as a co-convener of the group, it is a really big deal to have the success of the practices acknowledged and taken seriously. Access and opportunity committees, for example, are a big reason why projects such as the Holyoke Soldiers' Homes are meeting all of their diversity goals. It is a big reason why there were nearly 500 women working on the Encore Casino a few years ago, which, by the way, Encore currently holds the record for the greatest number of tradeswomen to ever work on a construction project in the United States. And these best practices put to work is also one of the biggest reasons why we'll be able to come together and build a more sustainable Massachusetts in the face of climate change. We see this work as a rising tide that raises all ships, because when attention is paid to the least represented, which in this case are women, we start to see positive change amongst all demographics. Not only do we see more women leaders in trades such as Alice Colonna, an organizer with the painters, DC 35, Amy Calandrella as an instructor with Operator Engineers Local 98, and Michelle Wright, an organizer with the Carpenters Union. I gotta shout out my people, you know. We are seeing more people of color in general in leadership positions in the union, such as Chaton Green, a business agent for the Boston Building Trades, Yasmani Santiago, and organizers with the Plumbers, Local 12, and Justin Ford on the Executive Council right here in Local 17. This progress is reflected in the membership as well, and is having a tremendous impact on traditionally underserved communities. More people will be able to retire with dignity, own property, and leave something to the next generation. And I have to say that I'm really proud to live in this state and be represented by Governor Maura Healey.
Yeah.
In a time in this country when women must fight for basic rights such as bodily autonomy, here in Massachusetts, we are taking a stand for women and other minority groups to have agency everywhere, including their work. We, meaning women, people of color, and all underrepresented groups, are also part of the working class, and we deserve access to life-sustaining careers and for our voices to be heard in every corner of society. Now it is my honor to invite up the next speaker, someone else who has made equity and justice part of their life's work and is a trailblazer in her own right by being the first woman to head up the Mass AFL-CIO. And she's also someone who I consider a mentor. Where is she?
Right behind you.
Please welcome President Chrissy Lynch.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chrissy Lynch. I am the president of the Massachusetts AFL-CIO. I'm also a very proud laborer. The Massachusetts AFL-CIO represents over 800 local unions across the state and 500,000 members. Construction workers make up 75,000 of those members. And we are proud to be the most inclusive and the best trained construction workforce available in the state of Massachusetts. And we're very proud of the work that our unions are doing to double down on our DEI efforts to ensure that women and people of color have access to these family-sustaining, life-changing careers offered by our building trades unions. I want to thank Bob and Shamia and Local 17 for hosting, and for all the leaders in the room. I look out right now and I see Shamia mentioned some, the governor mentioned some, Renee Dozier, yes. Right? Like, we have got so many. Amy came out from Western Mass. I mean, I am really heartened by all of the women leaders, not just from Local 17, but from our local unions all over the state who have come out here today, because this is a really important event. And I don't think we need to tell any of them or me, a woman can do any job that a man can do. Look at this administration. At one point, not too long ago, these were all men's jobs, right? So thank you to your administration for paving the path for women. The partnership this administration has shown to the labor movement, particularly the Building Trades Union, has really, it's not like anything I've seen before. They are teaming with us and our contractor partners to ensure that development in Massachusetts is responsible, that it supports the people in the communities where projects are being built. Of course, it was noted earlier, project labor agreements are the best practice for ensuring that public construction projects have strong diversity, equity, and inclusion standards, and we thank this administration again for your strong support of PLAs. Yeah. This executive order builds off of that to keep supporting construction careers that reflect all of our communities in Massachusetts. This executive order will help agencies understand what workforce participation goals they need to comply with. It will help project stakeholders become aware of contractors' past compliance with these requirements. It'll help us to access historical federal funding to help us maintain the same high standards we set for our state-funded projects here. And it will help make sure that our laws here in Massachusetts that make Massachusetts the best state to be a construction worker, to make sure they're actually enforced. We've all heard of the racial and the gender wage gap that exists in our country. A big part of why it is so large is because historically women and people of color have had far less access to middle-class careers like this. And I am so proud of this administration and of the labor movement here in America and in Massachusetts to be really intentional about chipping away at that gap. This executive order is going to help a long way, but partnership between labor and government is key to making this happen. Now you're going to hear from another key partner that we have in government, Gina Raimondo, who many of us know from her time as the building trades governor of Rhode Island, where, again, she was a huge ally of the building trades. She did a lot to get women into those jobs down in Rhode Island, where many of us also have members. She is now doing that same, picking up that same track record in the Biden-Harris administration, where she has continued that very, very strong support. And we all know how incredible of a partner the Biden-Harris administration has been to the labor movement to ensure that our construction workforce is inclusive, is as safe, is as highly trained as possible, and as fairly compensated as possible. And we know in this room that means union. That's right. So I want to give it over to Madam Secretary Raimondo. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Chrissy, and thank you to Bob and the Sheet Metal Workers Local 17 for welcoming us here today. I knew today was going to be a great day because, as you've heard, I'm a New Englander. I'm born and raised in Rhode Island. In fact, I'm headed down there now to celebrate Christmas with my family. And I've been in D.C. for 4 years. When I walked in this morning, I was greeted with a Dunkin' Donuts cup of coffee, which brought such a smile to my face and has revved me up for the rest of the day. So thank you for hosting and for the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Thank you to your great governor and lieutenant governor. Thank you. Yes, give it up for the governor. I have some experience with being a governor, so I'm here to tell you guys, she makes the job look easy. It's a hard job. It's a tough job. Every day she makes tough calls. She's doing a beautiful job, and the reason she's such a good leader is because every day she wakes up and she says, what can I do for the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, right? She's in it for you and not herself, and I admire that. So thank you. Thank you, and to all of you who are here. As Shamia said so beautifully, as Chrissy said beautifully, everybody's got to come together to make this work, right? We need the union, we need the federal government, state government, local leaders, contractors who are here. Thank you all. I want to say this is an important topic for me. Yes, I'm proud to be the building trades governor. It's true. The reason they gave me that nickname is because when I became governor of Rhode Island, the unemployment rate in the building trades in my state was about 26%. You know what that looks like, 26%? People losing their mortgages, people losing their pride, people struggling. When I left, the unemployment rate in the building trades was 1%. So, I know a little something about creating jobs and creating good union jobs and construction jobs because, as Shamia said, they're family supporting jobs. They're not, minimum wage jobs with no benefits where you can barely get by. They're dignified, high-paying jobs that require skill with benefits. And men and women deserve to have a chance at getting these jobs. And that's what today is about. So I do care deeply. I used to say all the time when I was governor, Americans don't want a handout. They don't. They want a chance. They want a chance to work hard and take care of their families. And that's what this is about, right? And I have been all over this country. I've been to Chicago, Las Vegas, Milwaukee, here, meeting with tradesmen and women. And I talk to women, I talk to union folks everywhere, and they say women make fantastic welders, pipe fitters, plumbers, sheet metal workers, but we got to get them in, and we got to train them. And that's what this is about. Now, for me, when I was governor, I saw this. Because you all know the company Electric Boat makes the best submarines in the world in the great state of Rhode Island. When I first became governor, they had a shortage of welders. And I got a call from the CEO. It's actually the first call I took as governor, saying we have a problem. First of many calls that began with, Governor, we have a problem. We have a shortage of welders, and we're not going to be able to fulfill the Navy contract on time unless you help us train welders. So I said, give me 6 months, we'll make a plan. I called the union, I called our community college, and we created a new welding program. In the first year of that initiative, we trained 500 new welders. Hundreds were women. A couple years later, I heard from the CEO of that company, who said, number one, Governor, this is great. We're going to continue to build submarines here. Number two, some of the best welders we have are the women that you sent us. So, and they were trained largely in the union hall like this one. So for me, I said, okay, how do we do more? More women in the trades. Serving President Biden, one of my initiatives is the CHIPS Act, building chips manufacturing facilities all over this country. Yeah. Yes. And you know what I hear from the chips companies when we give them our incentives? There's a worker shortage. So I want to tell you something right now. I think having women in the trades is the right thing to do. We heard today about equity. Equity is the right thing to do. But make no mistake about it, this isn't a social program. This is about economics. This is about economics. This is about making America the most competitive country in the world by tapping into the talent of women, half of our labor force. These companies want to build these huge factories in America with American workers, and we want that. And they tell me there's a labor shortage, so I'm telling them, let's work with union halls and contractors and train women, because they can show up on time every day, work their hearts out to build these facilities and do a great job of it. And by the way, make a living wage in the process. So that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this. Yes, it's the right thing to do, but it's also about having an economy in this country that is vibrant and competitive and where everyone has a chance at a good paying job. That's what this is all about. And the leader of this effort in the country is your governor, right? I rolled out an initiative associated with the chips manufacturing effort called 1 Million Women in Construction. Right now, there's 1 million women in this country who work in the construction field. I said, let's double it. Let's do another 1 million women. And one of the very first governors to raise her hand to say, I will do an executive order. I will lead. What? Yeah. Future sheet metal worker. Future sheet metal worker. First governor to raise her hand was your great governor, Maura Healey, because she's leading by taking action. So I am here to tell you I'm proud of you and to tell all of you, under President Biden's leadership, we are going to continue to fuel a massive amount of manufacturing, construction, infrastructure construction. Let's make sure that that goes to union, but also that it goes to men and women and people who are trained for the job, which will make America stronger and our economy that much more vibrant. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go sign this executive order.